Look, before I say another word, I need you to understand something. What I am about to share with you in the next 25 minutes is information that could quite literally be the difference between you waking up tomorrow morning or not waking up at all. And I do not say that to scare you. I say that because it is the truth, and the truth is what saves lives. My name is Panston, and if this is your first time on this channel, I want you to know exactly who you are listening to. I do not make a single video on this channel without spending hours, sometimes days, going through peer-reviewed research, clinical studies, and the latest findings from the most respected medical institutions in the United States. I do not chase trends. I do not push products. I do not repeat what every other so-called health guru on the internet is saying. What I give you, 100%, is my honest, evidence-based opinion as a specialist whose entire purpose is to educate you so that you can take back control of your health, your heart, and your life. Because here is what I believe with everything I have. An informed senior is an unstoppable senior. And the moment you understand why your body is doing what it is doing, you stop being a passenger in your own health and you become the driver again. So if that sounds like the kind of conversation you want to be a part of, stay with me, because today we are going somewhere most doctors will never take you. Now, let me tell you about a man named Harold. Harold was a retired school teacher, 71 years old, lived in a quiet neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. Loved his garden, loved his grandchildren, loved his wife of 46 years. One ordinary Tuesday evening, Harold ate his dinner, watched a little television, kissed his wife goodnight, and went to bed feeling absolutely fine. No chest pain, no shortness of breath, no warning whatsoever. The next morning, his wife found him unresponsive. He was gone before the paramedics could even reach the front door. The cause? A massive cardiac event that happened in the middle of the night while he slept peacefully, or so it seemed. And when I went back and looked at the months leading up to that night, I found something that his primary care physician had completely, and I mean completely, missed. Something that millions of seniors are doing tonight, right now, without ever realizing that they are quietly damaging their heart, thickening their blood, and setting the stage for a stroke or sudden cardiac death. A landmark study published through the Cardiovascular Research Division at Johns Hopkins University followed over 84,000 adults between the ages of 60 and 80 for 9 straight years. And what they discovered shook me. The seniors who engaged in a very specific set of nighttime habits had a 67% higher risk of cardiovascular-related death during sleep compared to those who had made small, simple, targeted changes to their evening routine. 67%. Let that number sink in for just a moment. That is not a margin of error. That is not a small statistic. That is the difference between waking up tomorrow morning and seeing the sun or never opening your eyes again. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, "Doctor, I feel fine. I sleep fine. None of this applies to me." And listen to me carefully. That is exactly the kind of thinking that puts people in caskets. Because the most dangerous conditions in the human body never announce themselves. They build silently, over months, over years, like rust forming on the inside of a pipe. Invisible, quiet, patient, until one day the pipe bursts. So today, I am going to walk you through 6 things every senior over the age of 60 needs to stop doing before bed. We are going to count them down from number 6 all the way to number 1. And the closer we get to number 1, the more critical, the more dangerous, the more urgent it becomes. I will tell you right now, number 2 on this list shocked even me the first time I reviewed the research. And I will bet anything that most of you watching are doing it tonight without a single clue. So stay with me all the way to the end, because missing even one of these could cost you everything you have ever built. But before we go in, I want to ask you something, and this is important to me. Drop a comment down below right now and tell me your age. And tell me whether you have ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart pounding or feeling like you could not catch your breath. I read every single comment. I respond when I can. And your answers genuinely shape the videos I make next. So do not skip that. Your story matters here. All right, let us begin. Number 6, and this one is going to surprise you because it seems so harmless, is eating a large meal within 2 hours of going to bed. Now look, I know millions of people do this every single night. A big late dinner, a heavy snack while watching the news, maybe some leftover pasta before turning in. It feels comforting. It feels normal. But here is what is actually happening inside your body, and it is not pretty. When you eat a large meal, your digestive system demands a massive surge of blood flow to break that food down. Your heart has to work significantly harder to pump blood toward your stomach and your intestines. For a 30-year-old, that is no big deal. But research from the Mayo Clinic has demonstrated that in adults over 65, what is called postprandial cardiac stress, that simply means the stress on your heart after eating, can raise your blood pressure by as much as 22 points and elevate your resting heart rate for up to 3 full hours. Now, imagine that happening while you are flat on your back, asleep, with your body already in its most vulnerable state. Your heart is working overtime when it is supposed to be resting. Your blood vessels are under pressure when they are supposed to be repairing. And then there is acid reflux. When you lie down with a full stomach, acid travels upward into the esophagus far more easily. And here is the part nobody tells you, that acid reflux can actually trigger something called vagal stimulation, which can cause irregular heart rhythms in vulnerable seniors. After the age of 70, the lower esophageal sphincter, that little valve at the bottom of your throat that keeps acid down, weakens dramatically. So the older you get, the more dangerous a late meal becomes. The fix is beautifully simple. Finish your last full meal at least 3 hours before bed. If you are genuinely hungry in the evening, a small handful of walnuts, half a banana, a cup of warm bone broth, these are all easy on the digestive system and gentle on the heart. And here is a bonus tip, a 10-minute walk after dinner. Just 10 minutes. Research from Harvard Medical School found that a short post-meal walk can reduce blood sugar spikes by 28% and dramatically lower the cardiovascular pressure your body experiences overnight. This single change, if you start tonight, begins protecting your heart immediately. Now, let us move to number 5, and this is one your doctor has almost certainly never mentioned. It is something nearly 60% of seniors over the age of 70 do every single morning, without thinking twice. I am talking about taking your blood pressure medication in the morning, when in many cases, you should actually be taking it at night. A groundbreaking study analyzed by cardiovascular researchers at the Cleveland Clinic followed over 19,000 patients for 6 years, and what they found was extraordinary. The patients who took their antihypertensive medication at bedtime, rather than in the morning, had a 45% lower risk of heart attack, a 49% lower risk of heart failure, and a stunning 66% lower risk of stroke. Why? It comes down to a phenomenon called nocturnal hypertension. And here's the reality. Your blood pressure does not stay flat throughout the night. In many seniors, it spikes dangerously high during the early morning hours, typically between 3 and 6 a.m. And guess what? That is the exact window when the majority of fatal cardiac events and strokes happen. Now think about this. If you take your blood pressure pill at 8 in the morning, it peaks around midday, and by 2 or 3 a.m., when your body needs it most, it has already worn off. But when you take it at bedtime, it is working at full strength precisely during that dangerous early morning window when your arteries are under the highest stress. But here's my warning, and please hear me on this. Do not change your medication timing on your own. Some medications must be taken with food. Some interact with other drugs. Bring this study to your next doctor visit. Have the conversation. Ask the question, because that single question could save your life. And this pairs powerfully with what we are about to discuss in number 4. So stay with me. Number 4 is something I call the silent dehydration trap, and it is one of the most underestimated cardiovascular threats facing anyone over 65. Here is the dangerous irony. Most seniors deliberately drink less water in the evening to avoid getting up to use the bathroom during the night. That instinct makes total sense on the surface, but what it is doing to your blood while you sleep is genuinely terrifying. Look, as we age, our kidneys become less efficient at concentrating urine. The body's thirst signal, which is controlled by a tiny region of the brain called the hypothalamus, becomes blunted after about age 60. Research from Stanford University has shown that older adults can be significantly dehydrated and never feel a single drop of thirst. Now, here is where it connects directly to your heart and your brain. When you are dehydrated during sleep, your blood becomes thicker, more viscous, more sticky. Imagine the difference between water flowing through a garden hose and honey trying to push through that same hose. That thick, sticky blood is harder for your heart to pump, and it forms clots far more easily, which is exactly how strokes happen at 3 in the morning. A clinical analysis from Harvard Medical School found that adults over 65 who were even mildly dehydrated at bedtime had blood viscosity levels comparable to those measured immediately before a thrombotic stroke. Read that again. Mild dehydration in a senior mimics the blood thickness seen right before a stroke. So what is the solution? It is not chugging a quart of water before bed. That will just have you running to the bathroom 4 times. The smarter approach: drink 1 full glass of water about 2 hours before sleep. Add a pinch of sea salt or a small amount of electrolyte powder, particularly with potassium and magnesium. Foods naturally rich in potassium, like a small sweet potato or a few dried apricots in the late afternoon, help maintain hydration through the night without flooding your bladder. And the magnesium piece is huge. Magnesium relaxes the walls of your arteries. It actually lowers your blood pressure during sleep. These 2 minerals together act like a soft, protective cushion wrapped around your cardiovascular system all night long. Now, let me pause for just a second. If anything you have heard so far has been valuable to you, please take 5 seconds and hit that like button. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe, because we are a growing community of people who genuinely believe that aging powerfully is possible, and every single click helps me reach another senior who desperately needs this information. It means more to me than you could possibly know. All right, let us keep going, because we are entering the most critical territory now. Number 3 breaks my heart, because I see it every single week. I had a patient, let us call her Dorothy, 78 years old, from Tucson, Arizona. Dorothy came to me after her second minor stroke in 18 months. She was on the right medications. She walked every morning. She ate a reasonable diet. But when I asked her about her evenings, she described something that I instantly recognized as a serious problem. Every night, without fail, Dorothy spent 2 to 3 hours in bed scrolling through her tablet. News, social media, family videos, with the screen just inches from her face. She had absolutely no idea that this single habit was destabilizing her cardiovascular system night after night after night. Here's the science. The blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and televisions directly suppresses your body's production of melatonin. Now, most people think melatonin is just a sleep hormone, but researchers at Harvard Medical School have demonstrated something extraordinary. Melatonin is one of the most powerful cardiovascular protectants your body produces. It functions as a potent antioxidant that protects the inner lining of your blood vessels, what cardiologists call the endothelium, from the kind of oxidative damage that leads to plaque buildup, arterial stiffening, heart attack, and stroke. So when you are scrolling at 10 at night, that blue light is shutting down the production of one of your heart's most important nightly defenders. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. In adults over 70, melatonin production is already reduced by roughly 75% compared to younger adults. So when you suppress what little is left, you are leaving your arteries virtually unprotected. A study published through the Stanford School of Medicine found that chronic nighttime light exposure was associated with a 43% increase in major adverse cardiac events in adults over 65. 43% from a tablet, from a phone, from a television flickering across the room. Dorothy listened to me. She instituted a strict no-screens policy after 8 p.m. Within 6 weeks, she was sleeping more deeply than she had in years. Within 4 months, her C-reactive protein, which is the blood marker we use to measure inflammation in the cardiovascular system, had dropped by over 30%, and she has not had another cardiac event since. Stop the screens 2 hours before bed. Replace them with a paperback book, a conversation, a cup of chamomile tea. It is one of the most powerful cardiovascular decisions you can make at your age. Number 2, and I promised you this one would surprise you, is sleeping flat on your back. Now, before you click away and tell me I have lost my mind, please hear me out, because the research behind this is absolutely undeniable. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity pulls your tongue and the soft tissues of your throat backward, partially or fully blocking the airway. This is the primary mechanism behind something called obstructive sleep apnea. And here is the statistic that no one wants you to hear. An estimated 50% of adults over 65 have sleep apnea, and the vast majority of them have never been diagnosed. During each apnea episode, and you can have hundreds of these per night, your brain sounds an emergency alarm. It floods your body with stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. Your blood pressure spikes to dangerously high levels, sometimes 30, 50, even 100 times in a single night. Each spike lasts only seconds, brief enough that you never fully wake up, but long enough to inflict real damage on your arteries, your heart, and your brain. The cardiovascular team at the Mayo Clinic has formally recognized untreated sleep apnea as a major independent risk factor for high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, heart attack, and stroke. And research published through Johns Hopkins found that adults with moderate to severe sleep apnea had a 58% higher risk of fatal cardiac arrhythmia during sleep. This is how perfectly healthy-seeming people die quietly in the night. So here is what to do. If you share a bed, ask your spouse if you snore loudly or if you ever seem to stop breathing momentarily during sleep. If you sleep alone, record yourself with the voice memo app on your phone for one full night. Listen the next morning. The signs are unmistakable. And then start sleeping on your side, particularly your left side, which actually reduces pressure on the heart and improves circulation back to the chest. A simple body pillow tucked behind your back can prevent you from rolling over in the night. And if your doctor confirms sleep apnea, do not let stubbornness or discomfort stop you from using a CPAP machine. That little device is one of the most life-saving inventions in modern medicine. And now, we have arrived at number 1, the single most dangerous bedtime habit for seniors. The one that ties every other habit on this list together and multiplies every cardiovascular risk I have just described. Are you ready? It is chronic, untreated emotional stress, left to fester in the hours before sleep. Now, I want you to think about your typical evening. Do you watch the news right before bed? Politics, crime, disasters, conflict? Do you lie awake running through worries about your health, your finances, your kids, your grandchildren? Do you replay difficult conversations from earlier in the day over and over and over again? If the answer is yes, you are doing what researchers at Stanford call rumination before rest. And the impact on your cardiovascular system is nothing short of catastrophic. Here's the mechanism. When your mind is in a state of stress, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, the same stress hormones triggered by sleep apnea, but in this case, they are sustained, hour after hour, all night long.
And those elevated stress hormones prevent your blood pressure from completing its natural nighttime drop, what cardiologists call nocturnal dipping. In a healthy person, blood pressure drops 10 to 20% during sleep. That drop is what gives your heart and your blood vessels the recovery time they desperately need. But in a senior with chronic evening stress, that dip never happens. Your heart never gets to rest. Your arteries never get to repair. A 20-year analysis conducted through Johns Hopkins University found that adults who reported chronic nighttime worry and high evening stress had a 72% higher lifetime risk of fatal cardiovascular events compared to their peers with lower evening stress.
After age 70, when your body's ability to regulate cortisol is already reduced by 40%, the damage compounds even faster. This is what took my friend Harold. It was not just one thing. It was the late meals, the dehydration, the late night scrolling, the back sleeping. And underneath it all, a man who lay awake every single night worrying about his retirement savings and never told a soul. His cardiovascular system never got the recovery it desperately needed. So here is the intervention, and it is not complicated, but it must be intentional. 30 minutes before bed, begin what I call a cardiac wind down. Turn off the news, put away the phone, sit down with a piece of paper and write down 3 things, just 3, that went well today. Anything. The taste of your morning coffee, a phone call from your daughter, a flower you noticed on a walk. Research from Harvard has shown this single act lowers cortisol within 20 minutes. Then practice what is called 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 counts. Hold the breath for 7 counts. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. Do this 5 times. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calm-down switch, and directly lowers your heart rate and blood pressure on the spot. If prayer or meditation is part of your life, this is its most powerful application, not as a religious formality, but as genuine physiological medicine for your heart. And finally, consider magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams, taken 30 minutes before bed. This specific form of magnesium crosses the blood-brain barrier and calms the nervous system while simultaneously relaxing the walls of your blood vessels. Research published through the National Institutes of Health found it reduces nighttime cortisol and improves sleep quality in adults over 65 by up to 39%. Think of it as a gentle hand on your heart's shoulder, whispering, "It is safe to rest tonight." Now, before I go, I want to leave you with something I tell every single patient who sits across from me, regardless of their age, regardless of their condition. And it is this: it is never too late. That is not empty encouragement. That is biological reality. The human body, even at 75, even at 80, even at 85, still retains a remarkable capacity to heal, to adapt, and to rebuild itself when we simply stop doing the things that are quietly destroying it. Your heart wants to keep beating for decades more. Your brain wants to stay sharp. Your legs want to carry you to your grandchildren's birthdays, to your garden in the morning, to your front porch in the evening to watch the sunset. Every single change I described tonight, stopping the late meals, talking to your doctor about medication timing, staying properly hydrated, eliminating screens, changing your sleep position, and protecting your emotional peace. Every one of these is within your reach tonight. Not next month, not next year, tonight. You did not make it to your age by being weak. You made it here because you are resilient. And the people who love you, they need you. Not just to be alive, but to be present, to be vital, to be you. And that is what these habits truly protect. Not just your heartbeat, but your life. So if this video helped you, please do me one favor. Share it with somebody you love. A spouse, a sibling, a neighbor, a friend you have not called in months. Because you may never know whose life you save by simply pressing that share button. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do that right now.
We release new content every single week dedicated to helping you live longer, sharper, stronger, and fully alive. And in the comments below, I want you to do one more thing for me. Tell me which of these 6 habits you are going to change first. Number 6? Number 2? Number 1? Write it down. Commit to it. Because the moment you say it out loud, it becomes real. This is reminding you that your best years are absolutely still ahead of you. Sleep well tonight, protect your heart, and I will see you in the next video.